There is still time. There is still time to be yourself. Still time to not care about other people's opinions. Time to love yourself. To accept yourself. I saw the TV Glow as one of those movies that might seem odd to people who grew up loved by their families, and those who are happy as they are. And while the movie clearly embodies the struggles of being trans, its deeper themes can resonate with anyone who has ever felt stuck, like they don't belong or need to apologize for simply existing, as if they're an inconvenience to those around them. Welcome to First Time Watching. Please like and subscribe as we dive straight into the explanation. Young Owen is watching late-night television when a commercial for the pink Opaque flashes onto the screen, imprinting itself on his still-developing mind. One line from the commercial echoes repeatedly. They can't hurt you if you don't think about them. He drifts into a daydream as time skips forward. Now, Owen is with his classmates in the school gym, playing under a parachute that floats like a colorful dome. He gazes at the vibrant hues in awe. The year's 1996. Owen attends an election event at school with his mom, where he notices a girl sitting on the floor, obsessed with a book titled The Pink Opaque Episode Guide. After playing psychic medium to cast a vote in his mom's name, Owen sets out to find the mysterious girl. He spots her sitting alone in the school cafeteria. Curious, he asks if her parents are voting too. She tells him she's there because one of the teachers lets her use the dark room after school to develop her photos. The girl, 2 years older than Owen, teasingly calls him a baby when she learns his age. But when she notices the remark hurt his feelings, her tone softens. Owen asks if The Pink Opaque is a kid's show. She shakes her head, explaining that while it airs on the young adult network, it's far too scary and its mythology too complex for children. Owen now needs to know more. The girl offers to let him read her episode guide, but points out a problem. The show airs every Saturday at 10:30, well past his bedtime. She mentions that she and her friend Amanda watch it weekly. Her parents, she adds bitterly, don't care about her bedtime or much about her at all, but she knows a way for Owen to watch The Pink Opaque with her. So on the car ride home, Owen nervously asks his mom if he can have a sleepover at one of his old friends' house. They haven't been friends for quite a while, but his mom doesn't know that. Pleased that her son does still have a friend, his mom agrees, but adds that Owen needs his father's permission. Clearly disappointed and a little scared, Owen begs his mom to ask his dad for him instead. He must have gotten permission because that Saturday, Owen's mom drops him off at his friend's house. He waits on their porch until his mom drives away, then starts walking to the girl's house. It must be quite a distance because it's already night and raining by the time he arrives. Letting himself in, he finds her and Amanda sitting on the couch. She tells him to shut up because The Pink Opaque is starting. The show follows two girls, Isabel and Tara, who live far apart but share a psychic connection they use to fight the forces of evil. The episode begins with two guys complaining that it's too cold to eat ice cream in the winter. They wish the ice cream man had never gone away, accidentally summoning an ice cream monster. After the episode, Amanda goes outside to smoke. The girl tells Owen he can join Amanda if he wants, but he stays with her instead, while Amanda's parents pick her up. She tells Owen that she thinks Isabel is a bit of a scaredy cat and sometimes annoying, but Tara is the better character. She is cool, confident, and super hot. She explains that Isabel and Tara only met once in the pilot episode. After that, they communicate solely through the psychic plane. When Owen asks if the ice cream man appears in every episode, she laughs and explains that he was just the monster of the week. The real villain is Mr. Melancholy, the man in the moon. Mr. Melancholy wants to rule the world and trap Isabel and Tara in the midnight realm. He hunts them because they are the Pink Opaque. Before heading to bed, she warns Owen to leave before dawn, adding that if her stepdad finds him, he'll break her nose again. She confides that sometimes the Pink Opaque feels more real to her than actual life, then disappears into her room. At the crack of dawn, Owen gathers his things and begins the long walk back to his fake friend's house. A heavy sadness falls over him as he recalls how happy Isabel felt as she was smiling while walking in the forest. 2 years later, Owen is at a carnival with his mom. She's unwell and asks him how he feels about her illness. He says he's fine, but it's clear he isn't. His mind is elsewhere. During the car ride home, he asks his parents if he can stay up late to watch the Pink Opaque. Now, keep in mind, Owen is around 14 at this point, and his stepdad is incredibly strict. They refuse his request, and his stepdad makes things worse by mocking him, calling it a show for girls, and making Owen even more uncomfortable for asking. Owen narrates his life to the viewers, explaining that after that first sleepover, he could barely muster more than 3 words at a time when speaking to the girl, whose name, by the way, is Maddie Wilson. But when he told her he still wasn't allowed to watch the Pink Opaque, she started recording episodes for him, leaving the tapes where he could find them. Since the episodes didn't air in chronological order, Owen ended up watching the show out of sequence, piecing together the story with notes Maddie left for him. In her notes, Maddie explains the show's deeper mythology. The little ghost tattoos on the back of Isabel and Tara's necks make them special. She writes about how Mr. Melancholy wants to steal the hearts of 100 awkward kids to fuel an eternal night. And most importantly, a rerun of the pilot episode aired that week. Maddie recorded it and left the tape for Owen in the darkroom. Owen narrates to the audience how he watched those tapes over and over, and they never lost their magic. In the pilot, Isabel and Tara meet at camp and discuss Mr. Melancholy. They talk about his henchmen, Marco and Polo, nasty little demons, always lurking nearby. As they look up at the moon, Isabel wonders aloud how she knows so much about everything happening. She fears she might be losing her mind. Tara reassures her. She's not crazy. She's special. They're the Pink Opaque. Tara knew it the moment she saw the ghost tattoo on Isabel's neck. As Owen watches the pilot for the first time, he finds himself speaking one of Isabel's lines in perfect unison with her. How can I have a destiny? Suddenly, a door creaks open in the distance. Panicked, Owen quickly ejects the tape. The next day, on the school bleachers, he meets up with Maddie. Owen asks Maddie if she and Amanda still watch the Pink Opaque together. Maddie replies that she hasn't spoken to Amanda in over a year. Amanda betrayed her by telling the entire school that Maddie tried to play with her fun bags. A complete lie. Amanda just wanted to be popular and didn't know how to do it without tearing someone else down. But Maddie insists it's not just Amanda, it's the secret agents who are making her life miserable. Owen offers to come over and watch the show with her. Maddie feels the need to clarify that she's into girls. Owen stammers, but says that's fine. She then asks him if he likes girls or boys. He admits he doesn't know, he just likes TV shows. When Owen thinks about relationships, it feels like someone took a shovel and scooped out his insides. He's too nervous to explore what's there. He knows something is wrong with him, and he suspects his parents know it too, even if they never say anything. Maddie tells him that maybe he's like Isabel, afraid of what's inside of him. That Saturday, Owen makes the long walk to Maddie's house again to watch the show with her. That night, they overhear her abusive stepdad tearing up the place. Maddie tells Owen she's planning to leave town. She believes she'll die if she stays, though she can't explain how she just knows. Owen's immediate worry is that he won't have anyone to watch the show with if she leaves. Maddie asks Owen to sit up, then draws a ghost on the back of his neck. But later, after Maddie falls asleep, Owen begins to see TV static and hears laughing voices above his head. The next morning, he rushes to the bathroom and scrubs furiously at the ghost on his neck, trying to remove it. But when he is done, Maddie reveals her true intentions. She wants to take Owen with her when she leaves. She's planning to go next Saturday, and he can't tell anyone about it. When Owen asks where they'll go, she simply says, "We'll know when we get there." On his way back to his fake friend's house, Owen lets the situation sink in. Instead of sneaking away, he rings the doorbell. He tells the friend's mother to call his dad and admit the truth that Owen has been lying about the sleepovers while his mom is in the hospital. He begs her to make his dad ground him, to stop him from going with Maddie. That following July, Owen's mom passes away, and a few weeks later, Maddie disappears without a trace. The only thing they found was her TV set, burning in the backyard. Strangely, the same month Maddie vanished, the Pink Opaque was cancelled. 8 years later, Owen works at a movie theater. One day, he accidentally walks in on his manager, getting his pickle gobbled by a lady of the night. So later, his colleagues tease him about the incident, trying to get a reaction out of him. But Owen feels too awkward to respond and avoids engaging with them. On the drive home, he has to stop because a power cable collapsed in the middle of the road. Scattered across the street are dozens of pages from the Pink Opaque episode guide. As Owen picks one up to read, he notices something unsettling. The page describes Owen reading it, and even acknowledges that we, the viewers, are also reading it. When he finally gets home, Owen apologizes to his dad for being late, but his dad ignores him. Sometime later at the grocery store, Owen is stunned when he sees Maddie standing in front of him. She asks if he remembers her. Overwhelmed, he hugs her and asks where she's been all these years. Maddie takes him to a quiet spot on the edge of town, a place she says is safe for them to talk. Owen tries to convince her to go to the police and demands to know where she's been. Before answering, Maddie has a question of her own. Does Owen remember the Pink Opaque? He tells her, "Of course, it's my favorite TV show." But this response makes her uneasy. She asks how he remembers watching it. Does he remember it as just a TV show? Owen says yes, but Maddie doesn't see it that way anymore. She recalls Owen wearing a beautiful pink dress, looking at her shyly. Maddie presses him further, asking if he ever thinks about those times watching the Pink Opaque with her. Does he ever feel confused? Like the memory isn't quite right? Like time isn't moving normally? She asks if he ever feels as though he's narrating his own life, like it's just another episode of the show. Suddenly, we see Isabel walking in a pink dress across an American rugby field. The scene shifts back to Maddie and Owen. Owen is wearing the same dress. They're standing together, looking at Mr. Melancholy, terrified. Owen says he wants to tell someone about what's happening, but Maddie warns him not to. Not like last time, she says. She explains that she came a very long way to see him. When Owen insists on knowing where she's been, she finally tells him, "I was there. I was inside the show. Inside the Pink Opaque." Overwhelmed, Owen rushes outside. Maddie follows him and tells him she's going back there to the Pink Opaque. She asks if he remembers how it ended, the final episode of season 5. He can't trust anyone, she says, because they're all working for him. Before leaving, she tells Owen she'll wait for him at the high school tomorrow night at midnight, hoping he'll come and join her. Back at home, Owen pulls out all his Pink Opaque tapes, desperately searching for the final episode. Not long after Maddie disappeared, she had sent him one last tape in the mail. It was the final episode. In it, Tara warns Isabel that Mr. Melancholy is coming. To defeat him, they'll have to meet in person one last time. Isabel follows Tara's voice to the dock by the lake where they first spoke 5 seasons ago. But as Isabel approaches, she picks up a stray signal through the psychic plane, a terrified message from the real Tara. Tara is buried underground. Mr. Melancholy had reached her first. The person waiting at the dock isn't Tara, it's Marco. As Isabel realizes this, Polo grabs her from behind. Isabel screams and fights for her life, but the henchmen overpower her. They cut out her heart and place it in a fridge alongside Tara's. They force-feed Isabel the Luna juice. Then he arrives, Mr. Melancholy. He holds a snow globe, and inside it, young Owen is watching the Pink Opaque on television. Mr. Melancholy tells Isabel to give in. "You'll love the Midnight Realm," he says. "It's a wonderful prison." He promises her it'll be okay. Soon, she won't remember anything. Her real name, her powers, not even the fact that she's dying. As Isabel's vision fades to black, she looks up at the sky while Marco and Polo bury her alive. And that's how the final episode ends. Later that night, Owen's dad comes home to hear a commotion in the basement. He finds Owen with his head inside the television, like he is entering the show. His dad pulls him out and drags him to the shower, holding Owen's head under the water. Owen screams, "This isn't my home. You're not my father." Black static static like goo blasts out of Owen's mouth as he vomits violently. In the following days, the TV set burns and Owen grows thinner and more frail. When he steps outside one night, he notices two men standing still, watching him. He can't shake the feeling that these men are Marco and Polo. Maddie begins to recount what happened after she left. She adopted a new name and made it as far as Phoenix with the money she had saved. The pink opaque was over. She got a job at the mall, working at Build-A-Bear, and left that town because she was certain staying there would kill her. But leaving didn't solve her problems. Time still wasn't right. It moved too fast, like someone skipping chapters on a DVD. She kept telling herself this wasn't normal. She considered moving again, but deep down, she knew it wouldn't fix anything. She had already seen how it would end. A little after her 22nd birthday, she paid some kid $50 to bury her alive. He didn't know what he was doing, but she doubted he'd have cared even if he did. Inside the coffin, time slowed to a crawl. What felt like years were only seconds. She tried to survive, producing saliva so she'd have something to drink. She screamed for help, apologized, begged God to save her. She clawed desperately at the coffin walls, but there was already too much dirt on top. And then, after an eternity, she felt herself slipping away. It was as if she was watching herself on TV, her perspective pulling further and further back, until she could no longer see herself at all. When she finally clawed her way out of the ground, rain poured onto her skin. She had returned back at their old sleepaway camp. It was like waking from a nightmare. Her entire life, as Maddie Wilson washing away with the rain. Those memories, once so real, felt like illusions. She was finally herself again, and in the season 6 premiere, she tried to find him. But Mr. Melancholy had hidden his tracks too well. She knew Owen had to be buried nearby, but the signal she used to feel was gone. The psychic plane was silent. Looking at Owen, she calls him Isabel and says, "I found our hearts." They were still beating. She had left the hearts behind because she knew her task wasn't finished. Then she found Mr. Melancholy's cauldron of Luna juice and took a deep sip straight from the ladle. She lays back down, waiting to fall asleep again, because she knew she had to return to save him so the show could go on and they could finally reach season 6. When Owen calls her Maddie, she shakes her head. "That's not my name," she says, "and I haven't told you anything you didn't already know." She reminds him of their conversation on the bleachers, how he told her he felt like someone had taken his insides out. Deep inside, Owen knows Mr. Melancholy left something inside of him. Still in denial, Owen listens as she tells him his memories were implanted to distract him, to keep him from seeing the truth. "You have to return to the soil," she says. "The longer you wait, the closer you get to suffocating." She has prepared everything for him to be reborn. Owen flashes back to the memory of him wearing the pink dress. They walk onto the American rugby field, heading toward the burial site. Owen tries to convince himself it isn't real if I don't think about it. It's not real. But Tara, now calling him Isabel, persists. Desperate, Owen tackles her to the ground and runs away. Owen rushed home that night, locking himself inside and refusing to leave for days. He kept waiting for her to show up again, but she never did. He tried to convince himself that he had made the right choice, that her story was absurd and couldn't possibly be true. Yet, a small part of him couldn't stop wondering, what if she was right? What if he was someone else? Someone beautiful and powerful. Someone buried alive, suffocating to death. But he knew it wasn't true. As he turned away from the fantasy, he walked back into the harshness of reality, leaving behind any hope that there was still time to change. The following fall, the movie theater where he worked closed, but he managed to find a new job at the fun center. After his father passed away, time seemed to accelerate even more. Years flew by like seconds. Owen tried not to dwell on it. He focused on becoming a real adult, a productive member of society. He even built a family of his own and bought a brand new flat-screen TV to keep up with the times. One evening, he decided to re-watch The Pink Opaque on Netflix, but it was nothing like he remembered. The characters seemed so much younger than they had when he was a teenager. The villains were less terrifying, and the dialogue wasn't mysterious or thrilling. It was downright cringeworthy. Owen felt betrayed, embarrassed even. 20 years later, at the fun center, later, he noticed that many of the arcade machines featured Mr. Melancholy and his henchmen. By this point, his body was deteriorating quickly. His lips cracked and dried as though he hadn't had water in years. He began to think he was hallucinating when one of the machines displayed the words, "You are dying." Later, during a colleague's birthday celebration, everyone gathered in the break room to sing and eat cake. While the others sang joyfully, something inside Owen snapped. He began to scream long, anguished cries that silenced the entire room. He screamed for help, for someone to answer him, but no one did. His coworkers stood frozen, staring at the floor. He screamed that he was dying, but still, no one responded. Through sobs, he apologized, begging them to ignore him. Then he screamed for his mother and fled to the bathroom. A colleague knocked on the door, asking if he was okay. Owen lied, saying he was fine. Inside the bathroom, he vomited more of the black static like goo. Then, trembling, he grabbed a knife. With shaky hands, he cut into his chest, desperate to see what was inside him. And there, within himself, he found it, a TV show playing. Owen wheezed in excitement, finally understanding that his instincts had been right all along. He cleaned himself up, put his clothes back on, and mustered the courage to return to his colleagues. Walking back into the arcade, he apologized to everyone for his behavior. And that's a wrap. As someone who is happily married, I understand that I might not be the target audience for this film. However, as someone who has experienced depression, and while I've never wanted to be another gender, I have wanted to be someone else, I deeply understand the importance of this movie. I'd like to applaud Jane Schoenbrun for their incredible work. They absolutely crushed it, creating a piece of media that powerfully captures the pain and struggles of not feeling like yourself.